Could Square Enix finally be ready to bring back one of the best PS1 RPGs with the all-time popularity of Xenoblade on the Nintendo Switch and on Nintendo platforms? It could be that way based off of a recent investor meeting and what they had to say. We're going to talk about that and some more when it comes to big first party Nintendo Switch sale that is going down. But before we get into all of that, guys, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it here because GameRant has the beat on this one, and shout outs to my man Stealth. He spotted this out with a Xenogears remaster because there was a recent investor meeting where this got brought up. So Square Enix's recent shareholder meeting had a Xenogears fan ask if it would be possible to see a remaster of the cult classic RPG. Now, in recent years, Square Enix has been putting out plenty of remasters and some awesome stuff like Star Ocean, the Second Story R. That looks absolutely incredible and could be a prime candidate in terms of art style and the direction that we could see with a Xenogears remaster, bringing those PS1 RPGs back to life. Also, games like Live Alive, for example, that was a 16-bit RPG that never officially left Japan, and that got brought back to huge success, selling over 500,000 copies on the Nintendo Switch alone. Now, for those who don't know about Xenogears, where you been? But honestly, this game is incredible. If you're into Monolith Soft or Xenoblade, this is where Takahashi kind of got one of the ideas, the long-spanning ideas in terms of the space saga that is Xenoblade, Xenosaga. Xenogears was first proposed as a Final Fantasy game with Takahashi before it got retooled into its own thing. It was definitely a different style of game and didn't really sell like FF7, obviously didn't have that name attached to it, but it was still a moderate success from fans and critics alike, and fans have been wondering when we could see the return of Xenogears. Now, during this recent shareholders meeting, shareholders were able to ask Square Enix staff members some questions, including Final Fantasy VII Rebirth producer Yoshinori Kitase and Square Enix president Takahashi Kiryu. One question was pointing out with the success that the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remaster series has seen, asking if there are any plans to remaster other past titles, with the shareholders mentioning Xenogears specifically. In no certain terms, the president replies that he is refraining from sharing any information about new games, but states that they are considering various options in the company. He also asks that they look forward to any future announcements. So the Xeno franchise, once again, is huge. It's a lot bigger now at this point. And while that wasn't a definitive answer in one way or another, I honestly feel that they're looking at stuff like Star Ocean, the Second Story, and the remake there and thinking, okay, if that does well, especially considering Star Ocean, cult classic, kind of like Xenogears in terms of it, maybe similar type of sales here and there. If that does well, maybe Xenogears is next. Or maybe they're in the first talks in terms of them bringing it back and they're seeing how things are. But I do feel that Star Ocean could play a key here because that game looks awesome. And I know a lot of people think that, oh yeah, bringing back games like that, updated and all that is nothing. It should be super cheap. Well, not exactly. A lot of these PS1 games and older titles are busted, and you really have to fine tune and spend some development time and resources on them. It's not just a cheap click your fingers or click a mouse and all of a sudden everything looks better on new modern hardware. You have to adjust, you have to adapt to it, and I think that the Star Ocean game, the Second Story, that title in particular is going to be a very big game for Square Enix to see exactly how this PS1 RPG on modern hardware and actually putting resources into it works. Because the first Ocean game, they just kind of brought that back from the PSP. That wasn't as much, but this one looks so much better. So I am really looking forward to this, man. And while Xenogears obviously never got a direct sequel, obviously with Tetsuya Takahashi and the success eventually of Xenoblade Chronicles, I think that Xenogears could get a lot of people excited, just like so many people are excited for the second story with Star Ocean, man. So this is good. This is good that they really addressed it a little bit, and I do think that a Xenogears remaster is very much possible. The problem with Xenogears, Xenoblade, Xenosaga at least, is that it's the same developers when it comes to Monolith Soft, but it's spread out across different IP holders. So Xenogears, that's Square Enix, and then Xenosaga, that's Bandai Namco, then of course Xenoblade, that's Nintendo. And if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, obviously there's some big revelations in that game when it comes to that, and maybe Xenogears, and of course Xenosaga. So this is really, really, really cool, and I'm hoping that something happens here. This is the time to bring it back with the all-time popularity of Monolith Soft, but we'll see exactly where this goes. But speaking of where something goes, let's talk about this incredible summer sale that's burning up the tracks and your Nintendo Switch at the same time. Now, we don't cover sales too much on the channel, but when there is something good, we got to talk about it, because there are big first-party blockbusters on sale right now at GameStop for really good prices, at least in Nintendo's terms, for their first-party physical games. Games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, under $40. Pokemon Legends Arceus as well, $37.99. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, the game that is getting bought more than a lot of other evergreen games for Nintendo, shooting up into that top 10, $38.99. Super Mario Odyssey, I highly recommend Super Mario Odyssey and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Those two games are absolutely incredible single-player experiences if you haven't played them. And another big steal from this is Shin Megami Tensei 5. That game is only $18.99. Very good deal for an RPG that can take you 100 hours plus. I beat it on the hard mode back in 2021, and man, did I have a blast playing through that game. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, that's $37.99. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, that's also $37.99. You've got some great deals like Persona 5 Royal, Resident Evil Triple Pack, It Takes Two, Diablo, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. All of those are under $30 as well. But the big one to me, and the game that if you haven't played yet, now is the perfect opportunity to pick it up physical, which I think down the line, this could be rare just based off of other physical cartridge-based Metroid games on systems that could be portable in Nintendo's past. That's a mouthful, but we got it out there. So Metroid Dread, $37.99. This is the game that you need to play if you haven't played it yet. If you just picked up a Nintendo Switch OLED or a new system and you're like, okay, let me check out some single player games to play. This game, Dread, has it all. Back in 2021, was a Game of the Year contender. Actually won Game of the Year from some outlets. It is the perfect version of 2D Metroid game that blends a little bit of horror elements with the Emmys and just the best 2D controls for a side-scrolling shooter platformer action game that I've ever played. The controls are so good, you know exactly when you fumble or mess up. You're never really bumbling around with the controls at all. Everything is done incredibly well, and it also has some of the best animations that I've ever seen with Samus in terms of just what she does and how she interacts with this world. It's a 2D game, but it feels so much more revolutionary in some aspects than other 2D Metroidvania games or titles that try to emulate that style. But this isn't really Metroidvania. It's got Metroid in the name, but it's its own style of game that if you have not played, I highly recommend you guys picking up Metroid Dread, $37.99 physical, because like I alluded to, a lot of the old school Metroid games on cartridges like Metroid Fusion or Metroid 2 from the Game Boy or Metroid Zero Mission, cartridge-based portable Game Boy Metroid titles always shoot up crazy high in value, so I would absolutely snag a copy of Metroid Dread at a discounted price. this the best-selling Metroid game of all time, and rightfully so, because the game is absolutely incredible. But let's go ahead and move on to something else that was incredible, but wasn't really able to hit its prime, and that is Yokai Watch. So, interesting enough, Level 5 seemed to be dead at one point. They seemed to be, you know what, we're just giving up, we're packing up, we're closing down our American studios, we're not releasing any games, this might be the end of the company. Then out of nowhere, the Phoenix rises. Level 5 is back with a bang, announcing a new Professor Layton game, and also announcing a brand new IP that looks incredible, Deca Police, and all sorts of goodness. The Megaten Musashi game that looks like a really cool action RPG mech style game. Man, it was out of nowhere, and it really made me happy as an old school Level 5 fan. I've been playing their games for decades at this point. Stuff like Dark Cloud, Rogue Galaxy, they have so many bangers, so many classics. But one of the games that was poised to actually be a 1 and 1A to Pokemon was Yokai Watch, but they made a very tragic and unfortunate mistake with Yokai Watch 4 on the Nintendo Switch, completely changing the style of game from turn-based to action RPG, and nobody decided to buy the game. The fans said, nah, we're good, despite the game being good and being quality, because Yokai Watch on the Nintendo 3DS and Yokai Watch 2 in particular broke all sorts of sales records for the company and was poised to be that next big Pokemon competitor and or collaborator, because Nintendo was publishing the games here in the West. So it wasn't like they were trying to bury them or anything. They wanted them to succeed with Yokai Watch, as it was a lot of it like exclusive to Nintendo platforms, the 3DS in particular. I do have a video on that if you guys want to check it out. But the news on this is the Yokai Watch 10th anniversary website. Level 5 has developed a brand new website that really celebrates the 10 years of Yokai Watch. Man, that 10 years went by like crazy. Just felt like it was a new IP and then went dormant out of nowhere. So Level 5 has launched the Yokai Watch 10th anniversary website. It contains the history of the series, line stamps, wallpapers, and more. Now, the first entry in the Yokai Watch series launched for the Nintendo 3DS on July 11, 2013 in Japan. A Western release followed on November 6, 2015 in North America and April 29, 2016 in Europe. Now, to celebrate the 10th anniversary, Level 5 is planning a number of initiatives, including the YouTube screening of the Yokai Watch movies with commentary from the cast, 10th anniversary editions of the Yokai Radio web radio program, and more. The latest game in the Yokai Watch series, Why School Heroes Bustlin' School Life, launched for the PS4 and Switch back in 2020 in Japan. A Western release or new game in the series has not been announced. And Yokai Watch 4 was obviously that game that they really hoped kind of blew the series up more. And we all thought that there would be a localization of that type of action RPG, but it's very unfortunate that the game kind of flopped and they never really went back to it outside of this right here in Japan, but there wasn't really much. And it's very unfortunate, like I said, because Yokai Watch was poised to be that next big thing, and it just didn't work out that way. So I'm hoping that this really invigorates the franchise a little bit. They get more people talking about it, get more people interested in it. And I think that now at this point, since they went the whole Switch's life, because Yokai Watch 4, that was a early Switch game, and they didn't localize it, and they didn't really do anything. I'm not sure if a localization or if anything like that is in the works for it now at this point. They did seem like they were going to do it, but I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Maybe they have some type of different idea and they can kind of do like a dual launch with Switch 2 and Switch. Maybe that will get people excited for it and they go back to the traditional style. But yeah, if we're going to see Yokai Watch again, I'm guessing that they're going to go back to how it was before when it comes to a new big game to maybe market in the West and also in Japan. But you never know at this point. But what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to everything that we talked about here, from Xenogears potentially coming back to this big Nintendo Switch sale? Let me know in the comment section. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my videos right here on screen. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.